Up there is the future. That's the Audi e-tron GT, the brand's first electric sedan and also its most powerful road-going car ever. Join me as we go inside to find out more about the e-tron GT. We talk to Audi's head honcho about his experiences in electric motoring and find out how you can experience it yourself at EV Weekend. German luxury car manufacturer Audi is one of the brands that will be front and center with us at EV Weekend Singapore. And to talk about the brand and its efforts in electrification, pushing forward electrification, is its head honcho, Mr. Markus Schuster, the MD of Audi Singapore. Hey Markus.
Hi Darren.
Cool. So my first question for you is, what is something interesting or cool about Audi that most people don't know?
So probably one of the most curious facts about Audi is how we came to our name.
The name? Oh,
and so August Horch, the founder of Audi, he had another business before starting the Audi business, and it was named after himself, so Horch. And he was ousted by his business partners, and when he wanted to found a new company then, they didn't allow him to use his own name.
Right.
So he had to come up with a new name, and one of his friend's son was studying Latin, and he came up with a quite clever idea and said, okay, why don't we just translate your last name, Horch, which in German means listen, into Latin, which in Latin is Audi.
Wow.
And they thought, pretty good idea. And it also, it's a word that sounds pretty good.
Audi.
So they used Audi, and it's been Audi ever since.
Everyone's moving forward with electrification, you know, every brand in the world. And how is Audi going to do it? And especially with regards to Singapore itself?
For us, the future is really electrified. For us, it's very clear. That's a very clear direction to move to. We've always had this approach that we wanted to do it top down. So we already in Singapore, we introduced the e-tron SUV and the e-tron Sportback last year. And this year, our newest car here, the Audi e-tron GT, so the electrified Gran Turismo version of an Audi. And we believe this is the best way because you can excite the customers and you can introduce all the newest technology in these cars. And then the question is, how do you really get people into driving EVs? And the first thing from our point of view is you have to educate the customer about how it is to have an EV and to own an EV. And that's why we started in Singapore to have our Audi e-tron hub at the Audi Center Singapore, where the customers could inform themselves on how it would be to own an e-tron. The second point, which is extremely important, is the charging network for customers, right? At our Audi Center here and the service center in Ubi, we have some of the fastest chargers in Singapore.
So fast cars,
to go from 0% to 80% of charge, for example, for the e-tron GT, it takes around 45 minutes with that one, and then you're ready to go. And the third factor is to really experience how your life is. And that's why we introduced the e-tron also in our Audi On Demand program, where you can just rent an e-tron for some hours or some days. So you really have the possibility to experience firsthand.
So that's exactly what we're going to do with EV Weekend as well. If you want to try an EV for yourself, look at the EVs from all facets of the market, from mainstream to luxury, like the car behind us here. You can head on down to the event, test drive and experience all these cars yourself. And to draw attention back to the really exciting car behind us, the e-tron GT, Markus, tell us, what's your favorite part of this car?
For me, the favorite part is definitely this combination of the sports car performance that you have, and on the other hand, you have this beautiful Gran Turismo body shape. You have a car that accelerates from 0 to 100 in 3.3 seconds. So this really might turn your stomach upside down. And on the other hand, if you want to take it slow, you have this very luxurious interior. You have a glass roof that spans over the whole top of the car practically. And I had the experience the other day. I was driving through CBD late at night, and you see all these big city lights above you.
Wow.
And that's just really a unique experience. So this combination of a great, fantastic, fascinating car and the sports car attributes is really something that it's hard to find somewhere else in such a package.
It sounds like really you having the future experience of mobility right there.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Again, and if you want to experience that kind of mobility for yourself, you can head on down to EV Weekend, test drive the e-tron Sportback and the e-tron SUV at the event itself.
Darren, I know you've had the car to test drive, and a lot of your peers also had the car, and we got great reviews. What's your favorite part of the car? What did you like most about the car?
I mean, the car looks really lovely, as you can see, and like you said, the whole package is very mature, very interesting, very fascinating to drive. But I think, we drove the RS one, and that was the really powerful one, and that really has that face-bending acceleration that you talked about. So to get back to the event, what are you excited for at EV Weekend Singapore?
So I love car shows, and the last car show that I went to was at the beginning of 2020. So beginning of last year, almost 2 years ago, here the motor show in Singapore. And I think it's great that you guys put up a motor show now where people can really go and to experience the cars, because it's still the most fascinating, most emotional way to experience cars, right? To see them, and you can test drive the cars, and you have all the experts there who can explain to you everything about the cars. And I think that's going to be a great event for Singapore.
For our last question, actually, what is your most memorable or emotional experience with an EV?
For me, the two things. I've been driving e-trons here in Singapore now for 1.5 years.
Wow, okay.
Started with the SUV, and then the Sportback, and now the e-tron GT.
Nice.
And every time I get into the e-tron, I always have this wow effect. So when you just get on this accelerator and the car goes, and it's this wow that doesn't wear off. You always have that. So that's the one thing.
Right.
And the second most emotional thing is, especially about the e-tron GT, is the reaction of other people to the car. So sometimes when I stop to park somewhere, people come up to me, they ask me questions about it, they take out their mobiles, take pictures of it, and it really reminds me of the times back when we introduced the R8, which was in 2008, which was a huge moment for Audi. It was the same reaction back then, and we have this reaction, this super emotional reaction now from people, and this shows me that this future electrified mobility is something that will be super exciting.
Where people are already getting excited
and people are ready for it. And that's actually the greatest experience I have with the e-tron GT.
Cool. So that's all we have for you, Markus. Thanks for sharing your experiences and telling us about Audi and the future of electric mobility. And if you guys watching want to form your own experiences with EVs, with electric cars, please head on down to EV Weekend, check out the event, test drive the cars, and sign up to the website to win some cool prizes.